What up, Tube? So in the garage today again. Today what I'm gonna do is take the taillight buckets that I made a few episodes ago and put them in the car. I'll put a link to that video down below here, so if you haven't seen it, tune in, check it out. We made some buckets so that I can put some custom taillights in my 50, and yeah, today let's get them in the car. As always, comment, like, make sure you subscribe to the channel, follow along with my builds. I appreciate every single one of you. So I did already make one of them and put it in the car. So what I did here was take that bucket, French it nice and deep into the car, and I'm gonna show you how I did that today. So I made these buckets a few episodes ago. Real simple, round bucket. Taillight goes in this opening, a couple screws. Putting it in the car on a curved surface is a little difficult. So, step one, I had to figure out the outside radius of this. I just took a little bit of paper, cardboard, traced it out and matched it up so that I can figure out how that first cut's gonna go. And then we take this paper, we figure out where we're gonna lay it on the car, and that'll go on there and start to help me with where my cut's gonna go on the car, how deep it's gonna go, things like that. It just takes a little measuring and whatnot to get it just right. I did do the other side already, so to make it life a little easier on this side, I took a piece of cardboard before I welded in my new bucket, and I traced out my shape of the new tail light before I welded this in. I took a piece of cardboard and just stuck it behind there and traced out my opening. So what I'm gonna do for the other side is cut this out, measure, get it taped directly onto the car, trace it out, and then start cutting. Once I get it all cut out, I'll put the new bucket in, weld it up, and show you how to get it nice and smooth. So the first thing I'm gonna do is clean this surface up. It's super important that you get everything off, all the paint, down to bare metal. I like to use these 36 grit flat pads on a 4-inch angle grinder. Pretty simple, it tears through stuff pretty quick and easy. The 36 isn't too much, so it's not gonna take off too much metal, but it'll get any rust or crud off of there. So I'm gonna just clean this whole corner up and back where the taillight used to be, because we're gonna shave that while we're here too. So. Now that everything's cleaned up, I'm going to take my template here that I made from the other side and put it on here, trace it out, cut it. So after I cut the hole in the other side, before I welded the new taillight bucket in, I took a piece of cardboard and I stuck it in from the back side, and I traced around the outside of my opening, and that's that purple line there. So I left that purple line when I cut it out because that is the edge that I want to keep. I also wrote top and DS for driver's side on there, so that when I came over here and put this on, I didn't put it on backwards, you know, and upside down. I know that this is the outside of the driver's side, so I have to flip it over for the passenger side. So I'm gonna do a little bit of measuring from the other side, figure out exactly where this needs to be, tape it on, make some marks, and get to cutting. Now I got my hole cut out here, and my bucket fits fairly well. I'm gonna start mocking it up and getting it in there so that I can weld it. These older cars, the 50 Chevys, had this little Mohawk stainless trim here, at one time or another, somebody just bent it over and then body filled around it. So as I was working there, I cut it out because we're gonna shave that hole and make that smooth anyway. So I cut it out, that way that little tab isn't just down there with body filler over top of it, and I'll weld some stuff in there. But as I cut it out, this whole thing kind of came loose. So I'm gonna tack this all back together and do a little grinding on that first so that my light is lined up. Little tip when you're cutting things out, sorry if it's a little loud, it's raining here in Oregon like it always does. Tip when you're cutting things out, I traced my marks out on my template there, and I cut just long of the mark, so I left a little bit of that mark there, and then I'll take the 36 grit grinder or the flap disc pad, and I cleaned it up and got it to fit exactly. So I always cut a little short, that way I don't take too much out. The first time I cut it, it didn't want to fit in. I had to trim just a little bit more out, so I went in there and just trimmed a little bit more out with the grinder, and got it to fit just perfect. The better things fit, the easier they are to weld. So try and make sure all your cuts are accurate, measured. Sink my bucket right in there. Throw a couple tacks around there so it's in there right. So when I made these buckets, I intentionally didn't weld this seam all the way up because I knew that it would be on the outside of the car, and that's all going to get cut off. That way you have that nice teardrop French shape. But buckets in there, it's nice and straight, lined up with the other side perfect. I'm going to take some time to cut out the excess off the outside here, and then we'll weld and finish the edge, and then we'll get to getting rid of that stock hole and that stock stainless trim there. We'll have to do some welding and some cutting underneath here to make that all smooth too. But yeah, so far so good. So that's about it. I got her all welded up into place. There'll be a little bit of fine welding and grinding to get it smooth. Everything went fairly well. Some of that old metal tends to blow apart when you start welding on it. So you use just a little bit of heat, a little stitching, and you get things filled. Yeah, that went pretty smooth. I like the look of that teardrop in there. I'm gonna be super excited when this whole car is done, but it's coming along well. Like I said, we'll do a little bit more finish welding and grinding with some higher grit paper just to get the steel filled and smooth. I like to try and get it as smooth as possible before I start doing body filler. That way I have as little body filler as possible in there. But yeah, that just takes a little time and patience. I'm not going to go through all that on the video. I'll shave the rest of the holes that are going in there and straighten out some metal. I got a little bit of hammer work to do on the top edge here where this old Mohawk used to be. One of these edges is a little higher than the other, and there's some dents in through here that I can bang out. It's real easy to access the inside of everything right now because I have the trunk basically gutted, and everything in there is easy to get to. So a hammer and a dolly, I'll straighten anything out that's in here that's a little wonky, and get a piece of steel welded into there and welded into the old turn signal light opening, and go from there. I'll use a die grinder to grind down into this corner and get that all nice and smooth. Getting in there with an angle grinder is just a little too hard. And then, like I said, sand everything smooth. Get it ready for paint and primer, and give her a new look on her ass end. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning in to the channel. Please subscribe. Make this part of your daily routine. Watch me build cars. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. If you think I'm doing it wrong, show me a better way to do it. Like I said, this is a hobby. I am by far not a professional. I know a few things. It gets me by. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Comment, like, subscribe. Next time we'll be doing a little more fabrication work, finishing up the tail lights here. I got another 1-inch light that I want to put on the inside, closer to the inside of the car. Haven't decided if I'm going to do another brake light or the reverse light. It depends. I'm going to French a license plate box into the deck of the trunk lid here. Still got to finish up my wheel wells. I'll have videos on that, on how to I'll have videos on how to bend a little bit of round rod and make whole new wheel arch openings. Yeah, stay tuned.